Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to our new summer program, our summer series. Now, many of you may be familiar with the Lynn show, which is on hiatus in August. But what you're going to get is actually a Lynn show squared, because what we decided to do in the meantime was something really practical and hopefully really uplifting. And I'm already happy just from that intro video, because you get 100 pictures of people smiling and doing like really great things, and you feel better already. But we're actually going to go really deep into the world of positivity, positive psychology. And it's a Lynn show squared, because your hosts are going to be yours truly, Rabbi Shmuel, and over there, Rabbi Dr. Yosef Lynn, okay? So I don't have the doctor in my name. We can bring our father on. He's also a doctor if we want to get another doctor in here. But it's like a Lynn show, but we're going to leave the names out of it, because we're here to really do something which I'm very excited to do, and not just have a chance to work with my brother on screen, but to really bring some information which I feel is so valuable, especially now, let's just face it, okay? Needing some positivity. When we advertise, we got the 5 avenues to well-being. They're real avenues. They're not like dirt roads. I'm actually coming to you live from the Catskills, okay? This is a green screen. I don't have a baby grand in the Catskills, okay? It's a bungalow. My brother's coming to you live from Yerushalayim, but these roads are not country roads. These roads are well paved. So what we're going to do is bring you a 5-part series into the concept of positive psychology, but the building blocks of positive psychology are this thing called PERMA. Okay, that's what we said, make a permanent change. We're going to get to that in detail. 5 letters, PERMA, and we're going to have an evening devoted to each one of them. We'll have the science, and my brother will be presenting, and the Jewish concepts behind it, the Torah behind it, and this is what we're going to go for. Now, this is based on a study that I've been at the University of Pennsylvania for many years, and my brother, Rabbi Dr. Yosef Lynn, who did his master's degree in applied positive psychology at Penn, and then went on to do his doctorate in corporate psychology. But it was founded by Dr. Martin Seligman, who was a, I guess, negative psychologist before he's a positive psychologist, meaning knew the world of problems. And from that took his cue to actually use scientific methodology and apply it to the world of positivity. And so this is one of the structures that he developed called PERMA, PERMA, which comes down to positive emotions, engagement, positive relationships, meaning, and accomplishment. And to the degree to which you can actually make significant investments and strides in each of these areas, even if one of these areas, it's going to actually contribute tremendous amount to your well-being. Not just that, we'll talk about it a bit later, but to your health, like your spiritual health, your emotional health, your physical health. You can live longer. And to the degree to which these things are actually invested in and integrated, then it can raise your game exponentially. So positive psychology today is really out there being used. It's a real practical science used in therapy, positive education, military training, positive health, consulting, even in the world of the military, specifically in building resilience. It is a major player right now in the world of self-help and growth and new age. Okay, but it's not so new age. It's got science to back it up, and we're excited for that. The biggest thing, of course, is that there's intervention, and we're basically going to have a 5-week intervention with you, a positive intervention, is to help your lives, to help my lives, to make us more tolerable, more tolerant people who can smile better, people who see the world differently. And we really want to make it very proactive and very real for you. Okay, so without further ado, the evening is going to go with the presentation of the science and the techniques behind it, and then I'm going to present some of the more Jewish ideas that really round it out, and then we're going to have some practical homework and advice for you, and some questions back and forth, and end it. Okay, that's what we're going to go for here. We're really, really looking forward to this. Thank you for joining, whether you're seeing it live or recorded. We're happy you're here, and it's a great pleasure to work online, live, in person, with my brother, my younger brother, how do you say it? You couldn't tell already, right? Rabbi Dr. Yosef Lynn. Welcome to the show. Tonight is positive emotions, the P of PERMA. Tonight we're dealing with your positivity, your positive emotions, what those things mean, and then how to find them and how to make them great.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you so much, Shmuel, my older brother. What I want to do is I want to take you right now through the science and really just give you a little bit of a taste, the tip of the iceberg of this whole world of positive emotions. Before I go into the importance of it and why it has such a big impact on our life, I want to do a small exercise, which is a bit tricky to do in this kind of setup, but let's try like a small exercise and just bear with me, okay? What I want people to do is I want people to think about a negative scenario that happened in their life, something negative. It could be a one-time thing. It could be a relationship that was negative, something that made you blue, something that made you frustrated, something that made you unhappy. And what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to think about that idea and that concept. And I want you to sit with it. And I want you to sit with just how it makes you feel physically, how it makes you feel emotionally. Go through the details, go over the scenario, think about what happened. And I want you to just try and sit with that experience just for a couple of seconds here. And as I said before, see how you think about it, see how you feel about it, see how your body actually physically changes because of it. Okay, so let's just try and sit with that for a second. Okay. Now, really, in the ideal world, I'd like to switch to, something else about 5 minutes later, but we don't have that much time. So here we go. Okay. What I'd like to do now is I'd like to go the opposite way. No longer this sad emotion. What I'd like you to think about is I'd like you to think about not that image. I'd like you to think about a different image. Let's put that image up there. I'd like you to think about a positive moment in your life, sometime where things were really great, a scenario that you really felt alive, a scenario you felt that things were going amazing. Try and focus on the details of it. Try and focus on how you feel about it. Go over the scenario and just try and pay attention to how, when you think about that scenario, how it physically makes you feel, how emotionally it makes you feel. And try and sit with that for a little bit. Again, in the ideal world, I'd give you about 5 minutes to do this exercise and to really get into it. We don't have that time right now, but here we go. Just try and sit with it for a little bit. Okay. Now, what I want you just to see, which hopefully you got a taste of, is the difference in the two experiences, and even more than the difference in the two experiences. What I want you to really see is the impact that it had on you as far as your physical kind of feelings are concerned, as far as how it made you emotionally feel. And it's actually quite amazing that even through this small, quick exercise, you can see the impact of positive emotions and also the other way, the impact of negative emotions. Positive emotions are a huge, huge part of our life. We don't realize that when the science goes into it in such a special way, but we don't realize the impact that it has in our life, that when we bring positive emotions into the daily back and forth of our lives. And this is what really people refer to as kind of the world of happiness. But happiness is a bit too broad. All throughout our day, we are having thoughts. All throughout our day, we are having emotions. And positive emotions, what we're going to speak about right now, and I'm going to show you, can have such a huge impact. And what's going to be important for us to think about is not just what are the benefits of positive emotions, but really what I care about, what we have to get to, is how can you increase more positive emotions in your life? If I can show you that positive emotions are so crucial, so we all have to be asking ourselves the question, especially during these crazy times, during this pandemic right now, of what can I do proactively to bring more positive emotion into my life? But we'll get there a little bit later. Let me show you that in the world of positive emotions, there's basically two kind of aspects to it. There is a physical aspect, physical emotions, physical pleasures that we experience that make us come alive, that we are dealing with nonstop. And what we also have is the world of emotional pleasure, which we experience also throughout our day, nonstop in different ways. These are just some examples on these slides. But these are kind of two places of where positive emotions can really be generated from. What I want to show you, just to get a little bit into the science, there's an amazing book, and I highly recommend people reading this book, okay? The book is called Positivity by, her name is Dr. Barbara Fredrickson out of UNC, University of North Carolina. And she is really a pioneer in really the study of not just the importance of positivity, but how to measure it and how to bring it actually into your life. And she speaks about many things, but what she really speaks about is she speaks about the idea that the impact that positivity can have in your life through this concept called, she calls it broaden and build. And it's really about the idea of an upward spiral, which is when a person has positive emotions in their life, when a person has positive things going on, that actually leads to way more positive things happening. It leads to you actually being able to build certain resources in your life that can become quite helpful. You being able to learn new skills, you being able to accomplish things that you weren't able to accomplish before. And therefore what happens, there's this upward spiral that happens that by you being in a positive place, therefore that leads to numerous great other positive things, not just in the moment now, but actually in the future. And what she discusses, which I want to speak about, which is important, which is, well, how much, what's kind of the ratio out there of how much you have to have as far as positive emotions is concerned? What, how much do you actually have to have? Do you have to be positive nonstop, and a person should never have any sort of negative thoughts? And the reality is, of course, that's totally unattainable, nor is that realistic, and nor is that so healthy. And what she explains is actually a ratio of 3-to-1. That there's a 3-to-1 ratio that a person should have between experiencing positive emotions throughout your day to negative emotions. And that ratio is basically the place where if you're able to hit 3-to-1 and even beyond that, then a person can experience many of the great benefits that positivity can bring into your life. Just to show you maybe a bit here, some of the facts of what has come out in the world of positivity. It's actually quite amazing to see some of these facts. And I'm not going to go through all these right now, and there are way more that are beyond this slide. But I want to focus on number 4 and number 5. Number 4 is that this idea of, unfortunately, we all think that we're either a positive person where we naturally have lots of positive emotions or not. And that is very far from the truth. And that perception, that paradigm, looking at that way, can actually be quite detrimental. And your ratio, your positive ratio in your life, as far as how often throughout your day you're thinking of positive things which lead to positive emotions, that can actually be changed, as the research shows. And number 5, which is a huge topic, we could spend a 5-part series on this, is the topic of resilience. And you think about it, we go so far out of our way in the world of resilience to, let's say our physical health, to make sure that we're eating well, taking vitamins, avoiding certain things, so that when we encounter physical dangers, we can actually survive them and we can thrive through them. But the world of resilience is also about an emotional world of resilience, which is, are we ready to deal with the difficulties of life? Are we ready to deal with issues that may come up? And resilience is a huge topic in the world of positive psychology. I don't want to go too much into that right now, but positivity can really fuel that. Just to show one kind of small example here as we wrap up the scientific aspect is the concept of PTSD. PTSD is something which is post-traumatic stress disorder, which many people suffer from and is a very difficult thing that people have to deal with in life. And one of the fascinating things is that there's a different concept out there that most people haven't heard of, okay? And it's called PTG, and it's called post-traumatic growth, which is after some sort of difficulty in life, some sort of trauma, that what can happen is that people can actually not just things fall apart. What happens all of a sudden, things can actually bounce back up and actually go in way more of a positive direction. Things can actually go up. And there's a real science behind it called post-traumatic growth. And really where that comes from is that comes from people we see who are resilient, that what we find is that even after a trauma, people can grow. And therefore, positivity is a crucial element to people being more resilient. So therefore, all the more so, especially in our times today, it's such an important thing to work on. But before we go, to the world of practicality, which is I know what people really want to hear about, and we just touched the tip of the iceberg of the science behind positivity, which is awesome. What I want to do is I want to hand it over back to my brother to take us into the world of Judaism and how Judaism looks at this idea of positive emotions.
Okay. Thanks. Thank you, Dr. Lynn.
A little weird, right?
Okay, so listen, I want to share a few ideas. It's a pretty remarkable thing. I will say that there is a little bit of a tradition in the world of positive psychology that let's just take it, let's call it Torah integrated Judaism. That means a Judaism that is supremely integrated in time and space and practice and all these things, actually is hitting all these five. And not only hitting all these five independently, but hitting all these five areas in ways that are totally integrated. The more they're integrated and connected, the more they're exponentially going to have a positive impact on us. It's a pretty remarkable thing. And this is really where I think my brother's expertise comes in. I will say that of the five things, when we get to meaning, we'll talk about this more, because Dr. Seligman who's aware that we're doing this program tonight and is, I think, very positive about it, but knows that the area of meaning and the area of purpose is really the common thread between all five. And that's something, of course, when we as Jews wake up in the morning, we can really tap into through our entire life, our day, every hour, every minute. It's an amazing thing. So let's jump into a few things over here, okay? There's a frightening statement in the Torah. And in two places, the Torah describes terrible tragedies that may befall the Jewish people. And of course, we know that they have. Okay, Holocaust, the Torah describes the same Torah scroll that we lift in the synagogue and we kiss and walk around and everyone kisses, right? That same book recounts horrific descriptions, detailed descriptions of the things that we've experienced and that we know too well. And in one of the places, the Torah doesn't say why in that sense. I mean, there's a spiritual health to the world, and we understand ideologically that our place as human beings and the goodness we bring into the world is the methodology and the medicine by which the spiritual health and equilibrium of the world can get rectified. But something that is said there is crazy. It says, Tachas lo yavadat b'simcho. It says these words that are crazy. Because you didn't serve me with simcha, this word we all know, simcha, happiness, then all these terrible things happen. Now, we're going to explain that later on in the seminar. But we got to hear the question. Wait a second, God, like Holocaust, Auschwitz, and then one of the factors is this thing called happiness, right? We didn't serve with happiness, with positive. I mean, it's a crazy concept. You have to keep that in the back of your mind. And we're going to answer that slowly in the next 5 weeks. But when we're dealing with tonight's P, positive emotions, this positivity which my brother just described, there are physical sensations, there's goodness, there's emotional things that are brought to the surface through vacation, through a good meal, through a great bottle of wine, through connections, through love, through romance, these things which are physical pleasures and things which are emotional pleasures also. And we're going to translate a little bit that emotional into emotional or spiritual type of engagements. Okay, so now, as Jews, there's this word simcha, simchat hachayim, which means happiness of life. That's what we're going for, okay? But it's not something you can download, and it's not something you can just, Amazon Prime. It's something which will come as a result of what we do in life and how we're focused, okay? And true happiness is something which comes as a result of our perspective and our efforts. So I'm going to give us two insights now. There's one thing that we have to know coming into this, okay? Judaism asks us to be connoisseurs of pleasure. Okay, obviously we know that pleasure brings positivity. That's what happens. We become positive people when things are good. Judaism asks us to be connoisseurs of pleasure. Pleasure on the spectrum from physical pleasure, emotional pleasure, and spiritual pleasure, but the pleasure is something that we have to be connoisseurs of. In fact, very famously, if you go to an Orthodox Jewish wedding, or you'll in Israel, you hear it sung all the time. There are actually 10 expressions of joy, of pleasure, of this type of supreme positivity in the world, and they are known. And you can name your kids after them. The words in Hebrew are. We have a slide for it just to show you. Gina Rida Digsta Hedva Ava Achva Shalom Reus. These are, you see them going across from top, going clockwise. That was counterclockwise. Gila Rina Digsta Hedva Ava Achva Shalom Reus Simcha V'Sasoin. There we go. Okay, there are 10 words for joy. And just to give you an insight, the word simcha is a word which connotes a certain type of pleasure that you get from the work going into something. And sason, which we translate as joy, I ask you in English, can you please tell me, what the difference between happiness and joy? It's hard, but there's a certain joy, sason, which is the experience of completion. Where you've worked hard, there's a separate quality of positivity, of experience, of pleasure that comes from having completed the journey. There's simcha and there's sason. When the stars and the luminaries come out in the morning, the sages describe it as a simcha, they come out. When they go in at night and the sun sets, or the stars and the moon go away, there's a sason to their day's work. All of these words have a different quality. Some are intellectual, some are actually physical. When you eat good things. Now, you can't be a glutton, you can't be a drunkard. So how are you able to eat great food and drink pleasurable wine and enjoy all these things, right? This is very important. These words in front of us right now are guides. The highest level, if you can find it on the right side, there's shalom, which does not mean just like peace, hello, goodbye, right? Shalom means a certain completion and perfection. But that last word, reut, is a word which we actually have at the highest level, which connotes a marriage, which are two people of totally independent entities coming together and creating a sum total, a oneness greater than the sum total of its parts, the forest from the trees. There are varying levels of pleasure engagement in the world. Okay, but I want to focus on a certain type. So that's the first thing you know. We have 10 words for it, and you have to be a connoisseur of pleasure in the world. This is obviously all generating positivity. If we eat, we feel great. Like, you ask yourself the question, why when you meet someone, if my brother and I could be in the same place right now, what would we do? We'd go out for dinner. Why? It's not utilitarian that I have to eat and he has to eat. So let's just eat, take care of it, because with that logic, you go to the bathroom together, you go shopping for your perishables together. I don't know what you do. Why do we go and eat? Because there's something about having the spiritual connection clear, and then using the beauty and the splendor of the physical world to underline, score, enhance, and drive home that spiritual pleasure. When my brother and I would connect in person, then the taste buds have to ring, and the body has to celebrate. We have to really have a potpourri, a celebration of the spiritual goal. So where does this come into play more than any place else? And if you're looking for like the time and the space for where all the things my brother is talking about in the science world, and Dr. Seligman will talk about this also, if you're looking for the time and the space for that, we have this thing called Shabbat. And there's one word that our prophets teach about Shabbat, and this word oneg Shabbat. Okay, the Hebrew is ayin nun gimel, oneg Shabbat. Now you ask a translator to translate oneg, they're going to say it's joy. Happy Shabbat. No, we say Shabbat Shalom. That's a different word. Happy is the word simcha. We don't say simchat Shabbat. We don't say that. We say this word oneg. And this word oneg is a very, very high level. And what is this word? And why do we have it only on Shabbat? And that is the key to success in handling the physical world and the pleasures that can come. And it's actually the key to how these pleasures can actually really last and really make the investment in the right account. When you drink and it goes down the wrong tube, it's still going down, it's just the wrong tube. If we engage the physical world, if we're engaging feelings of deep emotional positivity or physical positivity, but it's going down the wrong tube, it can choke us. What's the right tube? What does Shabbat do? And this is the key. It goes like this. When you have the spiritual goal clear, then you're supposed to bring in everything in the physical world and elevate the experience so that the spiritual gets enhanced, underscored, celebrated, and brought to a whole new level. If you have the spiritual goal clear, then everything else is a celebration, and you never confuse the essential from the non-essential. You never confuse the two. You're not there on Shabbat just for the wine and the food. You're not at an anniversary dinner for the wine and the food. You're there for the relationship and the closeness and everything else of the celebration. Shabbat is going to be the time. That's what that word oneg means, where we have the spiritual goal. When we're talking about emotional relationships, accomplishments, achievements, romance, love, or the physical side, we're talking about food and taste and experiences and vacation and warmth and expansiveness. When those things are plugged into spiritual goals of defining who you are and what you're about and moving you along your way, then those things are loved in Judaism, and they are appreciated, and they are sought out, and they are brought in with the greatest fanfare. Okay, now we want to get practical in terms of back to the science. Like bring my brother back on, Dr. Lynn here. And so we want to make this now practical, almost like worksheets and homework and things we can do for this particular session of positive emotions, which is what I've been talking about from a Jewish perspective, what you've been talking about from a scientific perspective. Take us through a few minutes here of real practical examples of how we can bring that into our lives.
So I want to give you some real practical tips here that are amazing. And these are what we referred to, Shmuel, when he spoke in the beginning about these things called positive interventions. And these are all, what I'm going to go through right now are not just, they're nice ideas, but the thing of positive psychology is that it's a science-based field of psychology. And therefore, what I'm going to show you right now is there's going to be tons of evidence really behind what I'm about to go through right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through two major kind of what we call positive interventions, and then we'll, Shmuel, if you have any questions, we'll go from there. Okay. The first we'll talk about is the world of giving, and the world of giving is an unbelievable thing. And I have this quote on the side here, and this is directly from Seligman's book, where he speaks about this idea of PERMA. And he says something fascinating, that if you're looking at a way of how to get yourself out of a funk as fast as possible, okay, the fastest, quickest, most effective positive intervention is you all of a sudden invest in someone other than yourself. And it doesn't have to be financial giving. It doesn't have to be physical giving. It can be any sort of giving, that when a person takes time out of their day and they invest in someone else, even if it's a small action or a big action, what you will find is not only, of course, does the person benefit who is receiving it, but the person who's going to gain the most is by you. And, especially in this world of this pandemic right now, what I found to be one of the most fascinating things is that, this being at home and being isolated has made people think so much about who they are and what they're not accomplishing and their own anxieties, all things which are true and very difficult. And what I found to be just so powerful is those people that said, well, let me try and focus today on giving to someone else, on helping someone else through this crisis. It's an amazing, amazing, amazing thing to see. And therefore, if people can find practical ways throughout your day of being able to focus on someone else and give to someone else, you'll see a real increase in your positive emotions.
So, Yosef, I got to jump in because there's a very, very famous thing in Judaism, in the Torah. As you know, the word that to give is noten, but the way it's written in the Torah, it says, and they give, and it's written v'natnu, and it's a palindrome, vav nun taf nun vav. And what's amazing about this word our sages teach us is that the reason why it's written this way is because when you give, you get. The word itself in Hebrew, which Hebrew is a language which is not just evolved, randomly with grunts and moans and spears being thrown into people. Hebrew is and my wife got her master's degree in Cambridge in this, and the whole linguistic world is still baffled by how Hebrew came to be, because it didn't just come to be. Okay, it came to be, and this Vanasnu teaches you everything about the word. When you give, you receive. I got it. It's a famous thing, and it's a very, very cool thing. Okay,
amazing. And before I go on, just again, like I said before, Shmuel, that I've just seen that, with students I've been working with, that people who have been in a difficult situation, things are hard at work, things are hard at home, that they said, okay, I'm going to go make today about, helping my grandmother deal with, what she's dealing with, or just run some errands for this person, or even random acts of kindness. There are a lot of people who are struggling through what we're dealing with right now, and there are a lot of people who are really suffering. And I've just seen that the science of this exercise come alive, and it's amazing to see. So
I actually remember myself very clearly having looked at this idea and said, okay, fine, that's it. I'm giving $10 away a day. Think about it, okay? Pick a number you're going to give. But at some point, I wanted to do an exercise. I'm going to give $10 away a day for a month. Okay, $300. You can. It's worth it. The $300 is the best investment you can. $10 a day, but I have to give $1 bills. I can't give 10. So like I remember being in bed like at night, like, oh my God, I got 5. What are you gonna do at 1 o'clock in the morning to give 5 $1 bills away? It's amazing, especially nowadays. You can click anywhere and give it away. But just the exercise of actually having to go out, find 10 charity boxes or what it is, or people or something like that in New York City. Most of you guys watching, like, we can do this. But like to take something like that where you actually just go through the exercise of giving, it will change you. There's no question. It will change you if you can hack it.
Right. And most importantly, what it does as far as what we're focusing on tonight, positive emotions, it makes that come alive and can get you out of that funk the fastest way possible. So let me show you the second thing here that I want to focus on tonight, which is a huge topic. And again, that we could spend 9 years going through this topic, is the idea of gratitude. And the world of gratitude is awesome. And, if you think about it, you'll be overwhelmed. The amount that has been given to us in our lives for us to have everything that we want and need. Let's take away, let's say, the services that you've paid for. So great, even though, of course, you should still express gratitude there. But the amount that has been done for you in the past and what is being done for you right now, it is overwhelming. One of the statements that bothers me the most is when people say, that guy, he's a real self-made person. I'm not saying people don't work hard and people don't have to push themselves, but self-made, all of us are not. And the field of gratitude in the world of positive psychology is awesome. Now, there are two aspects that that we focus on in the field of gratitude. Is we speak about the idea that a person has to feel gratitude and express gratitude. And maybe what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to just focus on the idea of how to feel gratitude more, because what I've seen, if you look at a lot of the research that's come out and a lot of just the regular articles I've been reading, that what are people really trying to do to focus on trying to get through this time? They're trying to appreciate what they do have and what is really important to them. And even though so many things are going wrong, there are some fundamental things which are really going right. And this idea of gratitude is an awesome thing, and a practical exercise of what people can do in order to, let's say, feel gratitude much more. There's a beautiful exercise, and it has a lot of science behind it, called the 3 blessings exercise. And what I recommend is for people to try this for 2 weeks. Okay, 2 weeks, that's it. And what do? Is that every single night before you go to bed, okay, not too late because you'll fall asleep. Every single night before you go to bed, what a person does is you sit down and you think back throughout your day, and you try and think of 3 small, practical, things that you were grateful for. They should not be huge things like, it's so amazing I'm alive and it's so amazing I can see. I don't care about that. It should be, that dinner my wife made me was amazing. That Frappuccino I had today was great. That song on the radio really gave me a boost. Small, little, clear things that you can write down. And the research on this is absolutely amazing about the impact that can happen, that if people do this exercise, it's really, they've done a lot of research on it. But just going through that, and it's amazing, because what begins to happen is that even though you're not going to write these things down to the end of your day, what you begin to do is you begin to go through your day and you start to train that muscle inside of you, where you begin to pick out, oh, you know what? I'm going to write that down tonight. Oh, I'm going to write that down tonight. And all of a sudden you become someone over a small period of time where you begin to hone in and focus on those positive things, which ends up leading to more positive emotions. But when the world of positive psychology speaks about positive emotions, one of the interventions, we can leave that for now. One of the interventions which is just so amazing and is just awesome, is this idea of this 3 blessings exercise. And I've tried it myself numerous times. I've tried it with tons of my students. And for people right now going through everything they're going through, it's really a fascinating thing that people should try. And give yourself 2 weeks. There's tons of apps you can use if you don't want to use a notebook or you don't want to use your phone, but I would for sure give it a shot.
It's a crazy thing because, especially right now, I mean, as a rabbi, right, a lot of people are, this time has blindsided us. I mean, it's been hit by a truck each time, where you're going, jobs, and especially for some people who are young and dating and not finding, like, it's really crazy. You'd think like there's so much heaviness going on right now, and especially during the Black Lives Matter protests and the heaviness of that, which is still there, but the height of it is behind us maybe. But like everything's being added and added on, and you think like, really, come on. I'm going to think at night like my Frappuccino. I say, that was a good Frappuccino. Like my daughter just brought me a cup of coffee. And she brought it from another place, which is a good cup of coffee. It's like, tonight, if I think about that, that's going to, if I'm really in a bad mood and everything is gray, and I don't know what, it's going to, and the answer is, yeah. The answer is the crazy thing that's what the science showed. Like literally people came off antidepressants because of simple exercises in gratitude. I will say that a gorgeous thing is that, again, Hebrew language is it didn't evolve like that. Okay. The Hebrew language shows you what's going on. The word for gratitude in Hebrew is a karatatov, and the word for, listen carefully, the word for being ungrateful is kfutov, which are the same last word, tov, which means goodness. The first word for gratitude means hakarata tov, which means ani makir, I recognize the good. And the word for being ungrateful is not this word ungrateful, which doesn't tell you anything. The word that says kafui tov, you cover the tov, meaning the goodness is there. It's all there. You've got everything in the world during a day, everything that goes on. There's plenty of opportunity to actually recognize the good, but you have to do that. You have to positively seek out the good and uncover it. And the process of being ungrateful, which can spiral a person into a grayness and appall and depression, is actually the process of covering it up. It's there. The question is, can you uncover it? That's what the Hebrew reflects. It's a gorgeous idea, but this exercise is also life changing, right?
It's just what's so amazing about it, Shmuel, is that not only you're right. Focusing on the Frappuccino at night seems a bit strange, but what ends up happening is like this: is that unfortunately it takes a lot of times tragedy or real craziness for us to really appreciate what we have. Let's take a very basic example. We don't appreciate the fact that we can walk. All of a sudden, the person breaks their leg. They have a cast on for 3 months, 2 surgeries, and then they take that cast off. They can't believe it. Every step is like a breath of fresh air. But you think about how much good you actually do have in your life, even though things may be crazy. You said your daughter just bought your Frappuccino. The fact that there you are spending the summer with your daughter, and hanging out with your family.
A Frappuccino would make me depressed. Just a regular.
But what's amazing is that we have so much good in our life, and what we don't realize is that by focusing on that good that much more, not only is it going to benefit us now as far as giving us more positive emotions, but we'll be able to look back on our lives when big events do happen, which may be unfortunate, and we won't say to ourselves, oh, would have, should have, could have, I should have been that more attentive, I should have appreciated that more. You want to be a person that when you get to those moments, you say, you know what? I'm really happy that I'm living my life in a mindful way, and I'm appreciating all the amazing things I do have.
But the coach in me is trying to get, like, this is something that we all have to actually put into regiment. It can't, all these ideas, I don't think you're saying anything right now that nobody watching this doesn't know. Everybody knows this. The question is, can maybe watching this show tonight give you some sort of impetus to actually regiment it and put it and say, fine, I'm actually going to do that. Okay.
And I would say people, tonight we're Wednesday night. Okay. So we're having next week, we're going to do the E and then the R. By the time we hit the R, people should be done with it, but you got to do it. I've done it with my kids. Before, actually, it's actually quite a cute thing. Before my kids go to bed at night, when I put my older ones, I don't put to bed anymore, but my younger ones. So we do it every single night before they go to bed. So we say Shema and we do, okay, 3 things. And they're like, oh, no. Okay, I'm not leaving until you give me 3 things. Just to make it a part of who they are. And hopefully what happens if it becomes a part of them during these formative years, the benefits can carry over, for their adult lives.
People are thinking right now that they're going to be thankful tonight for not having been raised by a positive psychologist or by a rabbi.
Yes, that's extremely annoying, and I don't recommend it. But you have to. But if people can really try and do this and find, get an app, spend a little bit of money for an app, get a notebook, do something. Now, if you miss a night, don't do 6 the next day. Okay, but don't miss a night. You got 2 weeks. Do it properly.
Okay, so I hope you people out there, we can take the charge. 3 blessings a night, giving, charity, whatever you're going to do, your time, your attention, give that extra attention, especially when that person's saying something you don't want to listen. Like, stop yourself and say, I'm actually going to listen now and break through. Tonight, this is what we're doing now for 5 weeks, okay, to try and give it, some practical take-home reality to it, some bite. I'll say this, positive emotions is one of the crazy studies that I heard Dr. Seligman teach about when they took a picture of a high school graduating class and they asked them to smile. This is many years ago. And there are 2 types of smiles. There's what's called a Duchenne smile, because the guy who called this out was called Duchenne. And there's the opposite used to be called the Pan Am smile. Pan Am was an airline. Okay, and that's just the stewardess. So like, the smile on everyone, hi, and there's that smile. Okay, Botox smile. They translate the Botox smile for the millennials. So they actually took a high school picture, and you can see, if you know what you're looking for, you can see the crow's feet in the eyes and the muscles here rise if it's a real smile, and you can see them not rise and just this rise if it's a fake smile. And you could try it out on people and see, right? So they follow these people through life. And they actually, so when they're looking at people who are 90 years old, who survived to 90, like 90% of them were the ones that smiled the right way, right? And all through life, relationships, divorce, children, happiness, job, all these things, health, stress level, everything was following the same consistent pattern that people, what does it mean you can smile well? It means that somehow you can tap into an inner well of positivity, of simcha. It's there. You might be feeling very sad right now, but the well's there. It's not dry. And therefore, you can tap into it. So someone says, smile for the camera. I said, okay, I got to smile, but I know what that smile, my neuroplasticity over here goes, smile, go to that well over there and pull up a bucket full of simcha, full of joy, and put it on your face, right? These things are meant to be life-changing, and we believe that they are. This is the world of positive emotions this week. Really, come with your own research, your own R&D department. You're an R&D department. Go into the world and try it out. Try smiling at people the right way. Give with your smile, your attitude, your positivity. Think about the blessings that you have. Try and do this. Next week, we're going to move on to engagement. You probably think, what does engagement mean? That's cool. Engagement, okay? And then relationships, yeah, okay, that's a big one, fine. But engagement's just as important, okay? And meaning, what meaning going to be, and accomplishments, how does that factor in? And all these are a beautiful web of connected joy and health and positivity that we really hope to bring to you. We're going to do it ourselves, right? We hope to bring to you. And it's every evening, every Wednesday at 5:30. Here we are, and we're going to put my brother has a website as well, yoseflynn.com, or the Greatness Within Seminars. So we're going to give you opportunities to really have some private counseling, some leadership, some coaching in these things if those are something you're interested in. But we're very grateful for you sharing 45 minutes of your Wednesday afternoon, and we're looking forward to the next 4 sessions with you. Please, this is going to be recorded as well, so please share it with your friends and share it with your family if you found it valuable. If you at least found it positive, that's half the battle, right? With a smile on your face, that's half the battle. Maybe we'll tell more jokes next time if you like. You can leave comments there somewhere. We'll definitely take a look at them. And wishing you a good night, and feel great, be positive, smile a lot, give a lot of things away. And we're looking forward to seeing you next week. Thank you, Yosef Lynn, for doing this with me, and to our back room over there, Michael, our producer, and Ilana and Bianca and Danielle and everyone on the team for making this great. Thank you very much. Good night.